Welcome to the Hockey Writers Ink, the show where the writer is fresh off the presses and the ink is not dry. Relax, the keyboard is off and the press box is closed, but the mic is just getting warmed up. Join your host, Lance Green, the guardian of the blue paint turned writer, and your co-host, Ron, SteelFlyers, as we bring you all the latest on the Philadelphia Flyers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the next episode of the Hockey Writers Ink with your host, Lance Green.
Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to another edition of the Hockey Writers Ink. I'm your host, Lance Green, like Steel just said, and we're still talking some playoff hockey.
Oh
Not the
boy,
Flyers,
we talking
obviously,
playoff
but
hockey.
we're talking about some playoff hockey here.
I have to tell you something, folks. I am highly excited because we are talking Phantoms playoff hockey. And let me tell you something, folks. They are melting some chocolate in round 2 of the Calder Cup playoffs. And here we go. We're going to talk about game 2 in Hershey, and then we're going to talk about game 3 and the coverage the Steel Flyers was able to provide for you guys as well too. And we'll also be throwing some pictures as well too, like we did for the last one, because man, we definitely took a lot of pictures in the games here for sure. So we'll be scrolling some pictures along with that too. So a lot of stuff to get into here, a lot of things to talk about here with these Phantoms. And Lance, I got to tell you something, man. The game 2 in Hershey was a completely different story from what we saw in game 1.
For sure. I think, the troops rallied. Coach LaPerriere got them back on track. I think they went into game 1 with a mindset that they might have been, going to get beat, being that Hershey is back-to-back champions. But like Steele said in the last show, I don't think it's the same Hershey team. A lot of those guys moved up to the big club that were so successful last season, the season before.
Yeah,
And, it's not necessarily the same team. They can be beaten. And we've seen that over the last 2 games.
exactly. I mean, the fact that they had one of the top Hershey had one of the top power plays last year, and then this year, not so much. I think they're like ranked 18th or 19th. Okay, and their penalty kill is a little better, but the Phantoms have just been lights out on the penalty kill. Like they have just completely shut down Hershey in both the games. Haven't really allowed them to get any kind of foothold on any kind of power play. They've had a little bit of zone time, but not a lot of shots. Like not a lot of quality chances. You know what I mean? Especially at the game in Hershey where they had. Man, I'll tell you what, that game was chippy, and there was a lot of back and forth in the box in that game, and there was a lot of opportunity for power play in that game, and Hershey wasn't able to capitalize. They had one power play goal from Alex Lemongs, and that was it. That's all they had. And
Penn State boy. He's a Penn State boy.
I know,
Former, yeah.
but that was the only power play they had, or power play goal that they had. You know what I mean? They had 6 power plays, so that's a lot of back and forth in the box.
Yeah,
Right?
I think we actually addressed that with the coaching staff and with Anthony
Yeah,
Richard, one of the team's leaders,
yeah.
after one of the games. How are we going to, take this into the next round, you guys, and address these multiple power play opportunities that the Phantoms were giving up in the first round versus the Penguins, and now seemingly still in the second round versus Hershey. But
Yeah,
the firepower up front has been able to combat that well enough to carry over some wins, and Anthony Richard being one of them. I think he deserved a lot more NHL time this year than he got. When he was up, he did really well. lots of speed, lots of talent, lots of hunger, drive, forechecking, all the good things. But he is now tied right now for the playoff points lead
I
with
know,
6 points. So
right?
he's really stepping up as that elder statesman in the AHL here and leading this young Phantoms team to victory recently, especially over such a powerhouse that Hershey has been the past few seasons. So it's nice to see, and man, I hope this guy sticks around within the organization for
Yeah,
quite some time because he's still young himself,
yeah.
and I think he really has a lot to offer,
I
even
agree.
with the Flyers next season.
I agree. But here's kind of one of the things that I want a little bit shift a little focus on here, and we touched on it a little bit earlier, where the Phantoms penalty kill has been almost like what 92% or something crazy like that during the playoffs here against Hershey, and they've gotten quite a few opportunities as well, and they haven't been able to cash in on it because the Phantoms power play isn't exactly lighting it up either, but what I do want to mention is this, and one of the things I want to kind of focus in on is this, and that is our man Zade Wisdom. I, I have seen the progression from when he first came into the league, how he came through, how he went through this year, how his progression happened this year. You know what I'm saying? And now he's at a point now where he is a difference maker. He when he steps out onto the ice, man, you got to have your head on a swivel because he's dangerous. And you know what I mean? He's got the speed. He's not afraid to get his nose dirty. He's taking care of the dirty areas, and he sticks up for teammates.
Yeah, I mean, this season, he really battled for some playing time in the regular season. I
Exactly.
think he scored, a little over half a point a game, uh,
Yep.
0.60 points a game, really. But in the playoffs, he's definitely turned it up some, another notch here. Five playoff games this year. He's got the 2 goals in I believe the one game, and then the one assist for 3 points in 5 games. But better yet, he's a +6 steal, and he's playing in his own end just as well as he's playing in the offensive end. So
Exactly.
that is what is going to get this character type guy maybe a look some or a call up in the future, maybe next season, maybe the season after. I don't know with how the makeup of the Flyers is going to be after this summer, but
Oh yeah.
definitely steps above last season where at times he was down in Reading
Yeah.
with the Royals. So
Yeah.
really kind of down on himself for not being able to stay up there. And I think, when we talked to Lappy about him specifically, especially, with your question that you asked him,
Yeah.
he's really worked hard and he
Yeah.
really wants to be here. He's not willing to come out of the lineup and he's going to do whatever he has to stay in it. And he's proving that right now in these playoffs.
Exactly. Exactly. And I got to tell you, he's definitely been noticeable. Not just, I mean, not we're not talking about just in this series. When they played against Wilkes-Barre, Scranton, he was noticeable in that series as well. Okay, and I'm really liking his progression, and I really like what Lappy said. He's like, yeah, he said, look, he said, I'm an AHL player, and I'm going to try to be here, and I'm going to make it hard for you to keep me out, and that's exactly what he's doing, and
Yep.
he's playing in all situations now. You know what I'm saying? He's getting top line minutes, right? So I mean, hey, all right, okay,
Yep.
we like
Yep.
seeing that, right?
Yeah, deservingly so. Yeah, he's worked hard for
Agreed,
this. So,
agreed,
um,
and and
and that's
and
probably
man,
and that's partly why they drafted him because he
yeah,
worked so hard in juniors and
agreed,
never took a shift off. So,
exactly.
I think he's finally coming around, into being a pro. And the longer they go in this playoffs, it's going to be better for him, and it's going to be obviously better for everybody, but especially him, if
Yeah.
he's going to get that chance to shine here. And man, I just love these series because both have been teams that are rivals, right? Like the Penguins, whether they're in the AHL or the NHL, the Flyers organization, the Phantoms organization are gonna play them tough. They're so local, especially Wilkes-Barre and Allentown are pretty darn close.
Yeah, but
In
Hershey's even closer.
Yep, and then Hershey. The next round you got
Yeah.
Hershey right there, and everybody snuck over to Hershey, and there's a long-standing hatred between these two teams because they
Yes,
see each other so frequently
you can
that
tell. You can definitely tell, man, by the
yeah.
chippiness
Yeah, you
at the
again,
game.
kind of,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay. With that being said, with game two, being a completely different team than what they saw in game one, in Hershey, the with that win, that vaults the Phantoms now playing at home in Allentown for game three. And folks, I got to tell you, it just seemed like one of those games where it didn't really matter what happened. I really felt that this game just had that feeling. You know what I mean? Like, even though they were down early, and it was like, okay, oh no, what's gonna happen here? You know what I mean? They had that first goal, and then Hershey came and popped them too. You know what I mean? And it was like, all right, So here's the thing. I think we've seen this team get better as the games have gone on, as the series have gone on. You know what I'm saying?
yeah. I mean, for sure, there there's definitely no quit in their game, and I think that stems from both Jason Smith and Ian LaPerriere because there was
Yeah,
definitely no quit in their game. They were fighting hard every game they played into the very last second of the game.
yeah.
And both of those guys have plenty of playoff experience themselves, so I'm sure, have been talking with these guys in practices and meetings and everything else, prepping for these games and kind of trying to teach these young guys, you know how to turn it up another notch and how to, hey, this could be a go home moment if
Yeah.
you know they didn't win these games here. So, you know, man, it's exciting to see some playoff hockey involving the Flyers, even though it's not the Flyers. It's their baby team. It's the guys that are going to be future Flyers, hopefully, right? This is
I
a
mean, yeah.
rebuild that we've been in for so long now. Now it's starting to pay off. You're seeing Lachenko come up. You're seeing all of these guys that are coming in, and Alex Bump had a game, last
Yeah.
series
He's
that he
he's been
just
playing
stood
really
out.
well. Yeah,
You
he's been
know,
playing really well.
so you're getting these guys, and they're making a difference, and it's promising. It's promising for the future of this
Yeah.
organization.
Yeah.
Even though um, the Flyers kind of got screwed recently with the draft order
Well,
coming out here.
well,
So yeah,
well. Yeah. But at any rate, with game three being back at home at Lehigh, that game just had a different feel for it. And I got to be honest with you, and I was a little bit worried there when Parker went down. Okay, and they had to bring Cal Peterson in, and it was
yep,
funny because we were sitting up there talking, and we were like, "Wow, I can't believe they're not starting Cal Peterson because he's the." And I said, "Well, Lappy's playing the hot hand, because Parker's been playing really, really. I mean, he's just had some glove save after glove save after glove save. I mean, my camera was pointed on him a lot. You know what I mean? But
yeah. He's
um,
definitely stood up for his team back there and stood on his head, like you said, when we were, at the game together, just stop after stop after stop with that glove.
Yeah,
And, but thankfully Cal Peterson came in and he stepped up,
big time. He made some
big,
really good saves.
big time, big time. So, I mean, 15 saves, once he came in and, didn't let one of them in. So,
Nope.
didn't let a shot in. So, he did his part coming in. He was ready. That's the biggest thing when you're sitting on the
Yeah,
bench as a goalie. You gotta stay in the game, even though you're not in the game.
right.
And he got his chance to get in there, and he helped out his team
I
significantly.
agree.
So
I mean, when Gauthier opened up the scoring with the shorthanded goal, I mean I believe that set the tone for the whole game. I mean, Hershey came back and scored 2 goals, bing bang, within about a minute and a half from each other. You know what I'm saying? And then Phantoms came back with a power play goal with Garrett Wilson,
mm,
right? Which, by the way, we had a good fan of ours predict that Luchenko would get his first goal that night, and man, he had a breakaway, and oh my gosh, man, I thought he was going to get it, but he's been playing lights out too. Lance Luchenko has been another, like you talked about, another part of the fruits of the labor of Danny Briere's draft picks are proving themselves right now for the Phantoms in playoff games and meaningful games. You know what I'm saying? And it's really really refreshing to see how this Phantoms team is just seemingly coming together and just doing a better job every game. Every game they get better and better and better.
yeah, and I mean, it's very interesting. There's so many names that I'm excited to see within the lineup now. With the additions of these guys coming from juniors and Bump coming from college, and Nikita coming from the trade deadline acquisition for Scotty Lawton, who's
Yeah,
playing good with Toronto. But man, with Parker going down, man, um, Cal could step in right now, even if he has to for an extended period of time. If he could pick it up because he's virtually playing for his next contract. He's getting paid quite well to be, um, you know, down in the minors. But his contract's up after the season. He's an unrestricted free agent, I believe.
yeah,
So, he's kind of playing for a job because as of when he was traded to Philadelphia, he's kind of fallen out of favor from that
yeah. Well,
goalie
he
who he
was
was
also
with the
hurt for a
Kings.
good
So,
portion of the year too, Lance. He was also hurt for a good portion of this year
sure,
too. So,
sure,
I
sure.
mean,
But I mean,
but
ever since he
I'm
got
with you.
here, you know, he hasn't really proven himself up to, you know, the last game with the Phantoms here.
Relatively
So,
recently.
yeah,
Yeah,
until
yeah.
very recently. So,
Okay. And that's coming from an old goaltender. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah, yeah.
but first of all, I would like to say a big, huge shout out to Mr. Bob Rotruck and to Connor Lawrence and the entire Lehigh Valley Phantoms organization for allowing us to be able to be there to cover the games, man. We really appreciate the opportunity. And we also appreciated the Hershey Bears organization for allowing us to be able to cover the game there in Hershey, too. So that was really awesome that we were able to get to do that. So big props and thanks for that, man. Really appreciate that, and really um, can't say thank you enough for allowing us to be able to cover these games. It's I think it's really awesome when you get to have these opportunities. So thank you very much. Really appreciate it. Okay, we got game 4 Friday night. Okay, Phantoms Lehigh Valley at home against Hershey Bears, rival. This is win and move on, or lose and play the next game in Hershey. You know what I mean? So I don't know, man. I really think this Friday game is going to be even more chippy and even more raucous, I think, than what we've seen so far.
For sure it is. I mean, any elimination type game is going to be played hard, but like we said, there's these teams are rivals, man, and I think a lot of these kids aren't ready to stop being professionals for the year, right? They just
Yeah,
came up.
right. Keep playing, man. Keep it
They're
playing.
excited. They're excited, right? I mean, they work so hard to get drafted, and that's one thing.
Yeah.
They now signing their deals and turning pro after their seasons. They don't want it to stop. They're living their dream right now, and in
Can
playoff
you blame them?
hockey. Man, it's a neat start to their professional career, and
Exactly.
both sides are not going to want it to stop anytime soon, but for somebody it's going to have to. So
Yeah.
they're going to be
Yeah.
playing hard regardless.
And frankly, I think we're probably going to see Peterson is probably going to start. Because Parker's probably going to be ruled out. We don't know. I mean, I'm not privy to any of that information. We're just going based off of what we've seen in the past game. So, if he's able to go, I'm sure he will. Do you know what I mean? Just because
Mhm.
I think that the Perrier would continue to ride that hot hand if he's able to go. I think he would go with him. But
Yeah, he got him to this point.
right, that's what I
So
mean.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I would go back to him for sure. But if he can, I'm pretty confident in Cal Peterson. Based off of what I said, he's playing for a
I
contract
agree.
right now.
Yeah, I
He's playing
agree.
for a contract, so he's going to play
Yeah.
his best hockey. Even though I don't think he's the guy I would want within the organization after this year. I expect him to be a free agent for sure, but
Well, I
there's a bunch of other teams that are he's going to be
yeah
trying to earn a contract with. So
yeah I'm with
I
you.
just think
And
I just think the Flyers have guys in place, like Bjornson's already with the team, observing games and everything like that, and there's other draft picks that the Flyers are going to want to bring in, guys that are already signed and everything already. So
plus
that's
the incoming crop that's gonna come in
for
this
sure
this coming
after
spring. Oh
after
yeah,
this upcoming
yeah,
draft.
yeah. But okay, so by the way, if you guys like what we do, please hit the like and subscribe, man. We would really appreciate that. So okay, continuing coverage of the Phantoms, man. As long as they keep winning, man, we're gonna keep on rocking and rolling here with this coverage, man, and we're gonna keep on rocking and rolling. So go Phantoms, man. Here we go. Game 4, Friday night at PPL Center. I'm here to tell you, if you get an opportunity, you have a chance, get yourself down there, man. That is a first class facility. They definitely take care of you down there as far as any kind of the food you would ever want. They got some great swag and stuff down there. By all means, hop on down there to the PPL Center and catch this great game you're going to see here against a heated rival, Hershey Bears.
Let's see that jersey you got on there. That looks pretty spiffy there.
Yeah,
There you
man. This is
go.
the,
Yeah,
the yeah, right.
baseball jersey. Yeah.
Baseball jersey, right? Yeah, right. Yeah, man. All
All
right,
right.
got to be rocking the swag, Got to.
Mhm.
All right. So, moving on to the big club, because there's some news now that has happened with the big club, so we're gonna cover some of that here a little bit. And by the way, just to let y'all know, a lot of the Flyers brass up there watching them playoff games. So exactly with what you're talking about, Lance, there's a lot of evaluation going on.
For sure.
Okay, and there's a lot of fighting for jobs, just like you said. You know what I'm saying? So, and it makes me happy seeing some of the guys playing really well. You know what I mean? The draft picks playing really well. That's really great. So, speaking of draft picks,
Hmm.
um, a day or two or so ago, there was some lottery draft picks, and some balls were emptied into a little special machine, and the balls came out, and then they came out again, and then they kept coming out, and it wasn't a Flyers logo on any one of them
Not
balls.
in the Flyers' favor. No.
Ooh. I thought, okay, we can't go any worse than fourth, But no, we got worse
Yeah.
than fourth.
So with the lottery, um, the Flyers had, like Steele said, had the fourth best odds of receiving the first overall pick. So if anything, like last year, it went pretty even. Like where teams were supposed to go, everybody slotted in just as where they were supposed to go. But this year, teams like the Islanders lucked out and received the first overall pick, moving up 9 spots. And Utah came in and stole the Flyers' fourth overall pick, moving up 10 slots. Um, to be able to come in and steal that pick. So the Flyers ended up getting the sixth overall pick. Not horrible, but as if you've been watching the show and me and Steele said, we believe there's 4 players potentially that could play in from this next draft in the NHL next season.
Yeah.
Now we're not going to be able to get one of those guys. So,
Well,
um,
maybe.
well, who knows? Yeah, depending. But yeah, that's a story for another day. Steele, I got to tell you, I don't really like the idea of pretty much every team that is not in the playoffs having a chance at the first overall pick. I get the need for a lottery. You don't want teams tanking to get the next Ovechkin or Sidney Crosby, what have you.
Or
But
Andre Fleury or Malkin.
you
Oh
you
wait,
name your favorite player,
sorry.
yes. But I think it should be cut down. I think they should look at it this offseason and the meetings and really take a look at shrinking the teams that can actually get it. And that's what I was just going to say. The top 5 teams. Let
When
it
you
be
mean
the
the
top,
bottom five
the
teams
bottom 5 teams. Yes, the top
only,
5 teams that are going to be selecting the
right?
5 worst teams in the
Yeah.
NHL that
Get
finished.
get their
Let them
balls.
all have a chance at the number
Yeah.
1 pick and
Yeah.
have the lottery be for them. But after that, it should just go in succession of where you finished. There's no way that the Islanders should have jumped up that high. They were pushing for a playoff spot right to the end, and just really
It's
grinds
like
my
that.
gears, man.
It's
I know the Flyers lucked out back in 2017, or did they? When they moved up from 13th to second overall and got to select Nolan Patrick, which of course dealt with countless injuries and pretty much was labeled a bust at that point because he could just not stay healthy, being that he was unhealthy when we drafted him. So, but
you know.
that's in the past. But you know, I I don't think so, man. I think, like Steele said, I think the top or the bottom 5 teams should get a chance in the lottery, and then everything else should go in succession. The
Based
Flyers
off of
still
how you
do have
finish.
3 first-round picks, though. So if they wanted to move from 6 to maybe a little higher, maybe they could. We'll see. As every year turns, the calendar, a 7 round mock draft is going to be coming from yours truly, for the Flyers. So this season will be interesting, being that Danny Briere has so many picks. I will get working on that sooner rather than later, now that we know potentially where the Flyers are going to be picking from. But
You know,
yeah.
I gotta be honest with you though, Lance. I'm look. I've looked at a lot of the social media out there that is kind of on the bummer side, and and we're all saying that we lost the lottery and all this and that and everything else like that. And as Lance and I pointed out, there's probably 4 or 5 players in this lottery or in this draft this year that will probably be able to play for their respective teams next season. But I got to be honest with you, I'm looking more at the rosier side of things. Okay, I'm looking more at, um, you know what, we got an opportunity here.
Mm,
There's some really good players that are going to be available in this draft.
Yeah.
Okay. And you never know. Danny might be able to roll the bones and conjure a deal, even to get up one spot or two. You know what I'm saying? He might be willing. Utah might be willing to drop back a spot or two and get another first round draft pick, like one of the Flyers, Edmonton or Colorado first round draft picks, and maybe a prospect or something. I mean, you know what I'm saying? That's kind of where I'm thinking that maybe that's kind of what's going to have to happen in order for the Flyers to get into that top 4 or 5 players where we feel that you know a select group of players could potentially come to the Flyers. But with that being said, even if they don't do any of those deals and they stay at 6, I don't care. There's gonna be a list of guys that they're gonna be able to take. Roger McQueen. Uh, that would be a great center. That would look great in this color. What? We talked to him. He's a great kid.
Yeah, there's tons of kids in this draft. I mean, uh, being in the top 4, I would want that pick, being that it would be a quicker turnaround to help
Yeah,
this team. But
yeah.
if it's not going to be, there's plenty of guys, even as far back in the teens and early 20s, that
Agreed.
the there's there's the top 4, and then there's a big group of individuals. Like you said, your Roger McQueens, your Jackson Smiths, your Carter Bears, your Lyndon Lakovics, Kayshawn Atchison, Malcolm Spence's, Cameron Reeds, Joshua Ravensbergen, a goaltender. All guys that we spoke to on our show Prospect Watch that are there and very, very interesting pickups, and can help your team. So I'm okay. I'm okay even if they wanted to trade back and get other draft picks. I think they should stick there at 6, but I don't necessarily like the guys at 5, 6, 7 that most mock drafts have going. Like you said, I think other names has fallen out a little bit, and some are a little underappreciated. So it'll be interesting. Like I said, look for that 7-round mock draft Flyers article that I produce yearly.
Yeah.
Coming out, and it's going to take me some time. I put a lot of thought into it, and go over a lot of video, a lot of stats, and go replay a lot of interviews that we've done with most of these players to generate this. So it'll be interesting, Steel.
I can't wait to see it, man. I can't wait to see it. By the way, got to hop on over to steelflyers.com and check out all the great stuff that we got going on there. All of Lance's latest articles and all the great shows from Prospect Watch to Hockey Writers Ink. Got to hop on over there and check that out. By the way, if you like what we do, please hit the like and subscribe. By the way, I would like to say thank you out there to all the great folks out there for allowing us to be a top 10 ranked Philadelphia Flyers centric podcast. So thank you guys very much for that. Would also like to say big props and thanks to Lowercase Blues. Man, we really appreciate them guys. Thank you to Jake and the boys for allowing us to have their great music for the intro. And if you got to go check out lowercaseblues.net. Go over there and check out their website. It has a listing of all their dates and and where they're going to be playing. Check out some of their swag and check out the new album. Go over to lowercaseblues.net. Check them guys out. Big thanks and props to Jake and the boys. Really appreciate that. Also, a big shout out to Mr. Bob Rotruck and also to Connor Lawrence. Really appreciate everything that you guys have been able to do here for us, man. Big props and thanks. Thank you very much, Lance, for all you do.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Right back at you.
Yeah, man. All right. Continued coverage of the Phantoms as they continue to win. So here we go. Game 4 on Friday. Hop on over to the PPL Center and check out this game. It's going to be a rocking good playoff game for sure, for sure. Check that out. I'm your co-host, Ron Steel Flyers, and this has been the Hockey Writers Inc. We'll catch you all in the next one.